Welcome to an unusual South Beach Sessions, kind of a half of a South Beach Sessions. We're doing it from California with Kamala Harris's husband. He is the second gentleman ever, looking to become the first gentleman ever. He's also a lawyer. Doug, help me with this. First gentleman, second gentleman, it's clunky. Can you give me some help? Can I do this better? Do you like being called the second gentleman and the first gentleman?
So it is clunky. So a lot of the crew here call me SG. Or Kamala calls me Dougie, so we're going to hold that for her. But yeah, whatever you want, man. Okay. I feel like I know you. I feel like I've been listening to you for so long. So it's, I think you can call me Doug.
All right, but not Dougie. Dougie belongs to
Dougie.
No, not Dougie. That's only hers. I've got a bunch of questions for you. But first off, I got married about 5 years ago. I learned about love, things that I did not know, had sort of some things that I thought I knew turned upside down. So tell me what you've learned about love from your wife.
So it's communication's key. Just making sure that I'm listening to not only what she's saying, but how she's feeling, what's going on in her life, what's going on in her day. And of course, right now, being vice president, running for president in such a consequential election, really had to up my husband game too, to really be there for her as our partner and husband, not necessarily as second gentleman trying to be first gentleman. We still have to preserve that great communication that we've had. And again, it's a lot of just listening and paying attention. And then she does that for me too. She sees how hard I'm working out here, putting myself out there for her and for the campaign and for our country. And it's the same thing where she'll see me out there and she'll make sure that she's checking in with me, and we don't get to spend the same amount of quality, couple time as before. That'll come after the election, but just still trying to stay connected, even now with all this going on, is just the key.
How much has that changed in terms of how much quality time you actually get? Because I imagine she's always being pulled away for something.
Oh, it changed on a dime since she took over as the nominee. So it's really been since July 20-something. It's completely changed. So we're trying to, again, make it work. But this is obviously our priority to win this election. So we're both putting everything we have into it. We understand the responsibility of being on the ticket and making sure that we do everything we can over these next 3 weeks to get the word out. But this limited time we have, we're just trying to make it real quality. So it was actually my birthday yesterday. So I think she was in North Carolina. I was in Pennsylvania. We made sure we got home, and she made sure I was able to have my favorite chicken parm dinner, and I could toggle between the Dodgers Mets and the Giants Bengals. So it was a great, not a great result if you're a Giant fan like me, but it was good result being a Dodger fan.
No way that she got you that gift or whatever the gift was herself, right? She sent someone out to get whatever it is your gift was beyond the meal?
Well, I actually got what I had asked for, so I don't know how she pulled it off, but I needed some new headphones, and there they were. So I was pretty happy about that.
You
said
you think the quality time is going to be improved after the election? You think you're going to get more time than now? It's going to be less busy after the campaign?
Well, you know what? We'll deal with it then, but hopefully we'll be at least under the same roof. More than we are now, because right now we're on two separate complete schedules. And but again, it's the sacrifice is nothing compared to what's at stake for this election. So we're honored to be in this position to be able to do this.
You said that communication is key, but she couldn't communicate with you immediately to tell you that Joe Biden had stepped down, correct? You were busy in spin class, right?
That was right. So it was, I was in LA. It was during that weekend when all the planes were down because of the software glitch. So I had to spend an extra day in LA. I decided to go to a cycling class with some friends, and it was an hour class, and we were just chit-chatting. I had my phone in the Secret Service car, so I didn't have my phone. And then my friend's partner just showed me his phone with the letter from President Biden, and I'm like, gotta go, and just ran into the car, and there was my phone, literally, like you could feel the the steam, 7 or 8 messages, all with, where are you? Call Kamala, call Kamala. And it was a 1 minute or less conversation, which started with, where the F were you? I need you right now. And basically get to work. And I did.
You run out sweaty? Are you wearing the tight biking shorts? Do you have those clackety-clack spikes on, the whole thing? Or
I try not to do the tight biking shorts. So I just do like the long old school, Nike basketball shorts, which probably aren't great for spin class. But I was drenched in sweat. I took the clackety clack shoes off, and the car wasn't exactly on the curb. So it was still a couple of 100 yards of old guy half running, trying to get to that car to jump on the phone and get in the mix.
what do you remember about the feeling of that, of just the realization in a parking lot, oh, okay, this escalated quickly?
It was very surreal because it was so sudden. And again, it felt like getting shot out of a cannon, I would say. Your world completely changes from 1 minute to the next. And 100 plus days later, I still probably haven't had time to process it or to even think about what it's like or how it feels, because we don't have time for that. So you're maybe at some point I'll reflect back on, wow, what an incredible thing to go through for me personally, our family, her, the kids, all that stuff. But it became so intense, literally that moment, and we've just been hustling the entire time. So there's really no time for reflection, only knowing that these circumstances are intense. It's a lot of hustle, a lot of travel. It's just being all over the country. But again, it's worth it because we know it's at stake right now.
What are the most unexpected things that you have found have come from the last 4 years of life upheaval?
You never imagine what it's like in these moments that you see on TV, and what it's like on the inside. So to go from an entertainment lawyer in LA to, being able to ride on Air Force One and to represent the United States of America, heading up a presidential delegation, which I've done many times, whether it's Olympics, whether it's an inauguration of a world leader, going to the state dinners, the Kennedy Center, and meeting dignitaries, but then getting to travel around the country and the world, seeing our beautiful country, and as a representative of the government, it's just so special. You work in the White House, and you're walking through those hallowed halls, and you always say this can never feel, mundane. This can't feel old. So I'd say that's the biggest thing, where you see all these things, but being on the inside, and of course being married to the vice president and being around the president all the time, you just don't take any of that for granted, and you really try to. It is special. And you just got to think of it that way all the time.
What would you be most likely to disagree about? Like, is there a recurring place that you have not yet learned the lessons that a husband needs to learn about mistakes that he's made in the past to stop making?
Again, it's all that listen more than you talk stuff, because there's so much happening around her, and I just want to be there for support and to be her husband and not be, like a political analyst or anything like that. So it's just making sure that I'm constantly there just for her as her husband, be supportive, and just that's my role, and keep that relationship going.
So you don't make the mistake I do of, instead of listening, trying to fix the problem, instead of going into problem solving male mode? That's not a mistake you make?
Anytime I've tried, well, that's why, Dan, every time I have tried that, it has not gone well, because it's just, again, she's got lots of people around her for that, and it's not. I'm there to be her husband, and I've got my own remit as second gentleman, and I've got a whole team to help me manage that. So again, our best lane is being husband and wife and being there for each other in our relationship. How
good is she at "I'm sorry"?
She's really good, actually, because again, it's a partnership of equals, and if on the rare occasions, yeah, she's it's great. We have real open and honest communication with each other, and it's a great hallmark of, I think, a healthy relationship, and our relationship in particular. And it's the communication. It's really based on a lot of mutual respect and good, solid, open, and honest communication with each other.
What does partnership of equals mean to you?
She helped me, as a spouse, as I was working, just like I helped her. But for her to have the opportunity to be vice president of the United States, for me, it was a no-brainer to take a step back from my career to to help her. And so did it without bitterness, without saltiness. And I've then in turn with her support, because I did struggle at the beginning to find, okay, what am I going to do now? Because I didn't realize when Joe Biden picked her to be VP, that was the last day I ever worked. I didn't know it at the time. I realized it during the transition when I had to step away from my firm. And so at first it was, okay, what do I do? I struggle with it. But with her help, she said, look, you're the first Jewish person ever in this role. Lean in on fighting anti-Semitism and hate. You're the first guy. There's a lot of gender equity issues out there, including in sports, and especially after the Dobbs decision. And then as a lawyer for so long, promoting pro bono legal services, access to justice, then all the other things that I've been able to do. So it really, really is a substantive role that I get a lot of satisfaction out of.
Were you asked to leave your job or did you volunteer?
I think it was a combination. It became obvious being a partner at an international law firm that the conflicts of interest would be too hard to overcome, and it was the right thing to do. So I think it was a real mutual discussion amongst the parties that it's just the right thing to do. And you can't have those types of conflicts of interest in these types of roles. So I was able to get a post at Georgetown University Law School. I teach entertainment and alternative dispute resolution, so I'm able to keep toe in the water, so to speak, in the legal field, which is very satisfying as well.
Explain to me what was tough and how long that tough lasted when you're like, okay, I've had my identity sort of over here that was purposeful, and now I'm a little bit, I'm not going to say lost for you, but you've been a successful lawyer for a long time, so I imagine you got some self-worth from your work. What was that tough period like, and how long did it last?
Yeah, anyone out there who loves what they do, and I wanted to be a lawyer as a kid, and I was obsessed with media, sports, and entertainment. So when I was able to merge my passion for being a lawyer in the field that I wanted to practice in, and then get good at it, and passionate about it, and being there for clients, standing up for others, and all the things that I love about being a lawyer, that when you can't do that anymore, I think it's natural to just feel that way. And again, it wasn't because of supporting her. It wasn't about the administration. It was my own psyche that this is how I define myself. This is what I love doing. I did it every day for 30 years, and I loved every minute of it. However, like I said, I was able to get out of my head on that because she really pushed me into leaning into the role. And then the more I did, then the more substantive work I was able to get. So by raising my hand, so the President Biden, as I mentioned, sent me on several presidential delegations, and I got to be almost like, the sixth man in sports talk, to come off the bench and get to do all kinds of things that are so rewarding. So yes, I still miss my former career. When friends want to talk to me and obsess about politics and what's happening on the campaign, I'll say, hey, what's going on in town? What's happening in the biz? Because that's natural. But again, no regrets. I'd do it again tomorrow. Anything that you miss the most? Well, I was a competitive athlete too growing up, and being a lawyer, like a stand-up, courtroom lawyer, where it's like that. So I love competition. I love testing myself. I love standing up for others. I hated bullies growing up. So it's a great way to put yourself out there and help other people, and you can really compete in a way. So you miss that action. But look at what I'm doing now. This is the ultimate stage right now, and politics has a lot of those elements, and I've really leaned into it, and I put everything I have into it every day, the same way I did for my clients as a lawyer. Beyond listening and communication, where is it that you have grown the most as a husband? Yeah, just being around her. She's a devout public servant, and again, coming to this public service so late after a career, just to see what good work can do for folks, and to see things like removing lead pipes and focusing on the economy that works for all of us, and seeing her put policies out there that are going to help people open small businesses, build more houses, make it easier to get capital. It's really been great that I now get to do that, in the formal role of second gentleman. You're able to see the world, see how some of the problems that are out there that you kind of are aware of, but you really see it. But then you can see how you can really help people. So I think that has really opened my eyes, and that really is through being with her.
What are the details you remember, the landmarks on your first date?
So I gave a very condensed version of the how I got to meet her through a client meeting. But the first date, I remember I picked her up, and I did tell her I was a terrible driver. I don't know why I said that, but I just felt like I was needed to open up to her because I just felt like this was really going to work out. And I remember going to the restaurant, and heads were turning because a lot of folks knew me from being a lawyer in town. Of course, knew her as the attorney general. And I remember sitting at the bar after we ate and just kind of having just winding up. And she said, well, are you going to be able to handle this? I just said, you know what? I've got a healthy ego. I got a lot of confidence. Just make sure this works out, that you pay attention to me and I'll pay attention to you. And that has kind of been our ethos from that very first day. So that's that little detail. I always remember that conversation, which has kind of guided us through this whole journey to where we are now.
Doug, it's about to get a lot harder. Like, pay attention to me is about to get, it's a lot. I understand she can be committed to it.
She still does, even now. Like I said last night, in the middle of everything, coming off the road, just to make sure I had my favorite birthday dinner of chicken parm, and I got to watch the Dodgers and the Giants at the same time. And that was just her way of paying attention to me.
Your healthy ego is prepared for a little bit of neglect, correct? You've already gotten a little bit of neglect. That's going to be expected, I've got to assume.
But you know what? The relationship is so strong and solid that I don't need to have that, constant attention to know that she's caring about me and that I'm caring about her. We built such a solid foundation over these years that it's really helping us be able to not only get through, but you see her shining in these moments, like the extreme pressure and stress, and like any clutch athlete that you all talk about. You're seeing her shine at the biggest moments under the most extreme pressure, and that's great. And so as long as she's out there and I can help her do that, and she's checking in, we're good.
You knew at the end of the first date, like you knew.
It's one of those things. We had an hour phone call a couple of days before the first date. So that hour phone call got through a lot of the niceties that you normally have. And it was such a great, so much fun. We really got to know each other. So the first date in person really felt like a second date, and we just got right into it. And by the end of that night, I had sent her an email the next day. We're in our 40s at this point, so I always say, look, I'm too old to mess around here. I'm really interested. Here are my availabilities for the next, and it turned out it was like several months. Some of them were long weekends, and maybe I was being presumptuous, but and it worked. Here we are.
Can you take us through how you knew like that? How often you knew something with that kind of conviction? I mean, whether you're in your 40s or not, first date is not normally how something like that happens.
No, I think it was just her friend. It was her best friend who turned out to be that client, who knew her so well. And somehow through the hour of me helping them through their issue, I don't know, she saw something in me that she knew would click with her best friend. So that helped, because I think her friend knew her so well that knew that we would just click somehow, and we did. I mean, we just really did. So no, that's not an everyday occurrence. It was just one of those things where it was just such a deep connection right away. You just knew it, and it's like we've literally been together ever since, practically. That after that first date.
Last thing before we get you out of here, what did she say to you coming off of the debate floor? Can you believe this guy said this? What is the first, don't shake your head no at me. Give me the thing that she said, like, it had to be they're eating the pets. What, I mean, it could have been any number of things, but what was the one you remember?
So it's funny because I was in like a soundproof room watching it, and then she was on the stage, and I came up right at the end to see her and walked off. She said, well, how do you think I did? I'm like, what? like you kicked his ass. Like, what are you talking about? That was complete and total domination. She goes, oh, okay, great. What are people saying? Like, what do you mean? It was a total domination. And she's like, great. And we were off to our next event. And as we were going to the next event, which was a rally, the Taylor Swift endorsement came in. So there was a lot of buzz about that. And then she got on the stage and talked about, okay, we haven't won anything yet. Let's go out and win. And that's really it. We haven't really gone back and talked about it just because it's just moving forward. And that's her. She's so focused, so determined. It's just, let's just keep rolling forward.
Appreciate the time, sir. I would ask you the most heartbroken you've ever been around a sporting event of any kind, but I'm told you're almost out of time unless you want to sneak this in
I'll
here.
tell you, it was USC Texas Rose Bowl in the Reggie Bush era. I went to USC. I was at that game, arguably one of the greatest college games of all time. And it was such a great game. It kind of takes away some of the sting of losing it, but that one was up there.
Vince Young broke you over his knee.
It's a toughie, but man, it was so cool to be there. People still talking about it 20 years later.
Thank you, sir. Nice talking to you. Appreciate the time.
Take care. Thanks for having me on.